There is something that happens every time you finish something difficult. You worked hard, you stayed with it longer than most people would have. And then, nothing. Not satisfaction, not pride, not even a quiet moment of having done something right. Just the immediate automatic awareness of what it wasn't, what it could have been, what someone else might have done better, what you should have caught earlier, fixed sooner, handled differently. The world sees someone who performs, someone who delivers, someone who by almost any external measure is doing well. But inside, there is a gap, a space where the feeling of enough is supposed to arrive and never does. You've been told you're too hard on yourself. You've heard it so many times it's stopped meaning anything, because it doesn't explain anything. It just tells you to stop doing something your mind won't stop doing. But psychology tells a completely different story. Never feeling good enough is rarely just a personality quirk or a bad habit of thought. It is a set of specific psychological traits, ways of measuring, evaluating, and relating to your own performance that form in specific kinds of people for specific reasons. There are 6 rare psychological traits found in people who never feel good enough, and once you understand them, you'll finally stop treating the gap as evidence that something is wrong with you. The first trait is the one that built the gap in the first place. Trait 1. Your internal standard was set by someone else, and it was set to move. Here's what most people never realize about this. You didn't decide what good enough looks like. It was decided for you, early. In moments so ordinary, you probably can't point to a specific one. It happened in the sigh that followed your answer, the praise that came with conditions attached, the love that felt warmer when you performed and cooler when you didn't. Maybe it was a parent whose approval arrived like weather, unpredictable, worth working for, impossible to hold. Maybe it was a classroom where being second meant being invisible. Maybe it was simply a home where love felt like something you had to maintain, not something you simply had. And so your mind built a measuring stick, not from your own values, but from the feedback of people whose approval felt necessary for safety. Psychology calls this conditional positive regard, the experience of receiving love, approval, or worth only when certain conditions are met. In practice, it means your nervous system learned that the gap between where you are and where you should be is not just uncomfortable, it is dangerous. It is the thing that has to be closed before you can rest. The strength here is real. You have standards. You push further than most people think is necessary. You produce work that reflects deep care. The cost is that the standard is not yours, and it moves every time you reach it, it rises. That is not perfectionism. That is a measuring stick someone else is still holding. But there is a trait beneath this one that explains why even when you do well, even when the evidence is right in front of you, it doesn't land. And this one surprised me. Trait 2, you experience your own achievements from outside yourself. This is the one most people never connect to, never feeling good enough. Think about the last time you did something well, finished something, received recognition for it, and notice what happened, not what you said, what actually happened inside. You probably stepped back, observed it, assessed it from a distance, the way a stranger might look at something someone else had made. And from that distance, it always looked smaller than it should have, more ordinary, more explainable, more like something anyone could have done. Psychology calls this the impostor phenomenon, a pattern where capable people are chronically unable to internalize their own success. In simple terms, your mind has built a barrier between what you do and what you allow yourself to feel about it. The achievement arrives. The feeling of having achieved it doesn't. This is why praise from other people doesn't fix it. They tell you something was remarkable, and something in you, politely, quietly, automatically, disagrees. Not because you're being falsely modest, because you genuinely don't experience it as yours. That's not a flaw in your thinking. That's a break in the circuit between doing and feeling, and it broke for a reason. If this already feels uncomfortably accurate, if you've spent years achieving things that never felt like enough, this channel exists for exactly that. You're welcome to subscribe. The next trait is harder to name, but once you hear it, you won't be able to unhear it. Trait 3. The moment you arrive somewhere, your mind is already measuring the next distance. And this one runs deeper than it looks. You finish a project, someone acknowledges it, and before the acknowledgement has fully registered, you're already somewhere else. Already cataloging what this achievement didn't solve, already aware of how far you still have to go, already measuring the new gap between where you are now and where you think you should be next. It doesn't feel like ambition, it feels more like a refusal to land, like arriving at a destination and immediately questioning whether you chose the right one. Psychology calls this hedonic adaptation combined with anticipatory deflation. In simple terms, your mind has learned to move the goalpost before you can feel the arrival, because arriving has never felt safe enough to rest in. The brain does this to protect you from the crash that follows hope. If you never fully land, you never have to feel the fall. The shadow side is exhausting. You are perpetually in motion. Not because you're driven, but because stillness has never felt permitted. But the strength is extraordinary. You do not stagnate. You do not stop. You are always becoming something. The task is to let yourself feel the becoming, not just the distance. The next trait is the one nobody talks about out loud. It's late. You're sitting somewhere quiet. Maybe a desk, maybe a bed, maybe just a chair you didn't mean to stop moving in. And today went well by any measure. Something worked. Someone said something generous about what you did. You have evidence sitting right in front of you that you are capable, and you feel nothing that matches it. Not pride, not satisfaction, just a kind of flatness. A room that's been cleaned but never lived in. You tell yourself you should feel this. You know you should feel this, but knowing and feeling are different countries, and tonight, you cannot find the way between them. That is not ingratitude. That is not depression. That is what happens when feeling good about yourself has never been a safe thing to do. Trait 4. You learned somewhere early that pride was something that had to be defended against. Here's what this looks like when you're living inside it. You do something well, and before anyone can say anything, before the situation even has a chance to resolve, something in you moves first, qualifies it, minimizes it, says it wasn't that hard, wasn't that impressive, could have been better. Not because you don't know it was good, but because you learned, through repetition, that feeling good about yourself was followed by something that hurt. A comment that arrived exactly when you were most open. A moment of confidence that was met with something that closed it down. And so your mind learned to close itself down first, to get there before anyone else could. Psychology calls this defensive self-effacement, a self-protective pattern where the person minimizes their own value preemptively to avoid the pain of external deflation. In simple terms, you learn to be the first one to knock yourself down because it hurt less when you did it than when someone else did. This is not humility. Humility knows its worth and chooses not to perform it. This is armor, worn so long it started to feel like skin. You were never arrogant for wanting to feel proud. You were only trying to protect something fragile that the world hadn't been careful with. And then there's trait 5. This one is the quietest, and it may be doing the most damage. Trait 5. Your sense of worth is tied to output, not existence. This is the trait that explains why rest never feels restful. You don't feel good about who you are, you feel temporarily okay about what you've done. And the moment the doing stops, the moment there's nothing to produce, nothing to complete, nothing to solve, the okayness drains away. This is why weekends feel vaguely wrong, why vacations are exhausting in a different way, why you can be still in your body and feel like you're failing. Psychology links this to contingent self-worth, a pattern where a person's value is experienced, not as inherent, but as conditional on performance. In simple terms, your worth has been outsourced to your output. You're only as good as what you most recently completed. The cost is a life lived in permanent audition. There is no offstage. There is no version of you that is simply allowed to exist without justifying that existence through productivity. But here's what contingent self-worth also creates in people: an extraordinary capacity for work, a depth of commitment that most people have never had to develop, a relationship with effort that is genuinely rare. The goal is not to stop working hard. The goal is to find the version of you that is enough before the work begins. And there is one more trait, the last one, and it is the one that ties everything together. Trait 6. You hold yourself to a standard you would never apply to anyone you love. This is the trait that almost nobody names. If someone you cared about came to you and told you they had tried hard and fallen short, that they had done their best and it wasn't perfect, you would find the words. You would see what they did right. You would hold the full picture. You do not do this for yourself. For yourself, the one thing that went wrong erases everything that went right. The moment of uncertainty cancels the hours of effort. The imperfection swallows the attempt. Psychology calls this asymmetric self-evaluation, applying harsher, more absolute criteria to the self than to others. In practice, it means you're operating under two completely different rulebooks. You extend grace to the people you love as a reflex. You withhold it from yourself as a policy. This is not high standards. High standards leave room for being human and still being worthy. This is something older and quieter, a belief laid down early that you are the one exception, the one person for whom ordinary effort is not enough. You are not the exception. You are someone who was never taught to be a fair witness to yourself. You were never someone who couldn't feel good enough. You were someone who was taught through the accumulation of small moments, through the feedback of people who were doing their best with their own limitations. That good enough was not something you were allowed to simply be. That teaching shaped you. It gave you something real, a capacity for depth, for work, for care, for standards that most people never develop. But it also cost you something, the ability to land, to arrive, to feel, even briefly, that what you have done and who you are is enough. That ability is not gone. It was never absent. It was only buried under years of being measured by a stick that was never yours to begin with. You were never broken. You were built to reach in conditions that forgot to tell you that where you already are is also worth something. Which trait hit closest to home? Drop a number in the comments, subscribe, you're in the right place.